So, guys, everyone who is watching us live over the last 3 to 4 minutes, it was very informal. But now we officially begin the session. And let me just, I don't think Alka Kriplani madam needs any sort of introduction because she is such a reputed teacher across our country. She's such a well known figure in gynecology, throughout academics, throughout various other things. And, the uniqueness which I think of madam is that right from post graduation, all postgraduates know madam, all super consultants of India know madam very well, and all the medium people also know madam very very well. So that is her connect. She's connected right from post graduation till the absolute super specialization, and that is something which I think she is the only one to achieve in our country, and that too so profoundly and consistently for such a long time. So, guys, I was doing a little detailing and studying about Alka Kriplani madam, and we, when all of us were postgraduates, we had a textbook called as Williams Obstetric. I think that textbook is still there. So, madam's CV is only 2 pages less than that. That big is her CV. When she sent me the file of her CV, I actually downloaded it, and all of you will be surprised. It runs into 216 pages only. Okay, so that CV itself is a publication. The amount of lectures, the amount of awards, uh, God, the amount of training programs. If we can just bifurcate all of that, it will be individual session on awards, individual session on training programs, individual session on her efforts, her live demonstrations. I think it is just incredible, and that is a good thing. I think madam can give very good competition to our honorable Prime Minister Shri Modi ji on hard work. And madam, thank you for accepting this invitation and coming live on Facebook with me. And you've always been unbelievably kind to me right from my postgraduate days. For all people who don't know this, let me please tell you that Alka madam knows me at least since the last 10 years, and she has seen me as a stupid postgraduate in one of the conferences. And I have been very lucky that I had the opportunity to do a case presentation to madam. And ever since then, madam has always tried to be a guide and a friend, and someone whom I can call up and approach. So madam, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and
Thank you.
coming live with me. So this entire session is going to be only Dr. Alka Kriplani. It's going to be about her journey. It's going to be about many, many, many things which she has achieved in life, and we are going to touch it one by one in a very different format. It's not going to be very formal, but okay. Let me just start off. So, madam, you are from Raipur in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so I was reading. I was reading that you had your name in the newspapers for the merit list in the final examination. And guide me. Come on, take me through that journey, madam. How was it? What was the time at that point in time?
See, Jay, first of all, thank you very much. And I think the way your program is going, you see the Kapil Dev and all celebrities, if they have not done Kapil Dev's program, then they are no longer. It is going to be in medicine like that, because whomsoever I am sure you contact, because of your popularity, your dedication, and the way I saw last program with Kiran Koilo, and I really loved it. So, when you want to know about my journey, I have a very modest background. I am not daughter of somebody or something like that. I'm from a very small place called Raipur. It was in Madhya Pradesh, and now it is in Chhattisgarh. And I was a very ordinary kid. Like I had two sisters and one brother. And one day when I grew up, my mother told me, "Beta, I had enough of children, but you are, just it happened, and you were born." So literally, I'm a unwanted baby. Contraceptive failure, unwanted, but the kind of love I got from parents. So I was in the school, and I don't know from where I had this idea. In those days, Jay, there used to be, if you are in the merit list in the top 10 or 20, your name was published in the newspaper. And they were not these times when people know. Somehow idea got stuck that my name should come in newspaper. I worked very hard. It could not come because there were only 10, 20, top in the whole Madhya Pradesh list. But then it got me into habit of studying very hard. And as I told you, if you want to do something as a girl, in those days it was only doctor or engineer. So I used to study very hard. And we are 4 sisters and 4 went into medical school and all 4 are gynecologists. 3 are university toppers with the scroll of honor. And I topped in all 3 MBBS exams. So I was good in studies because, as I told you, it was habit to work hard and study hard.
So basically coming first is a genetic disorder in your family.
That I don't know. I think it was struggle for survival and to do better. Because if you don't work hard, then where will you be?
Yeah.
So it was nothing great, that great inspiration or something. It was to, something, to do something good.
Right.
To get somewhere in life.
Yeah, right. So, madam, from this, I think you did your post-graduation also in Madhya Pradesh.
Right? I'm MBBS and MD from same Raipur Medical College. And I had another dream that my name should come in the topper. There used to be a very nice list, the topper of the year and the president of the year. So I worked hard. And I was in the same year, I was president in the final year of our medical union. And I was, I'm the only one who could manage that.
Wow, congratulations, madam, for that.
I don't know. God is kind.
No, great. And then how did that journey from Raipur go to Delhi directly?
That is something really very nice. So, as people may think, I had no vision. What I'm going to do. Just because I was good in studies, then there were interviews and the topper one, you get subject of your choice. And it was that the girls take gynae, my elder sisters took gynae. So I also took gynae. I didn't know what will be the future in the gynae. But then I thought for girl it is good, so let me be there. So after finishing my post-graduation, then I didn't even know that what is something called senior residency or training. So where to train in future? So in the final year in post-graduation, a job came for UPSC, you see, that was railway. And I applied and I got into because of the mugging power. So MCQs. So I got into, and me and my husband both got posting in Jhansi. And it was a very coveted posting. Everybody said you are class 1 officer. We got a very big bungalow with 5 servant quarters. But in 4-6 months, we realized this is not for us. It was an officery. You go, you do something, you do OPD. Sometimes there is OT. For me, even it was better for my husband as a surgeon. In those days, nobody used to go to a young surgeon, I tell you. So he said, this job, I don't think we should... continue with this job. And we resigned. I resigned. I didn't have any job in my hand. My family people thought what crazy bachas they are. And on an ad hoc senior residency, my husband resigned and joined Safdarjung Hospital. And I followed him without any job. Luckily, in the next fortnight, I got senior residency in Lady Harding. And Lady Harding was a good journey. At least it was a structured program, very good obstetrics. 3 years I worked there. After that, again, Jay, after senior residency, you just fall on the floor that what to do next. So, in these times and in Mumbai, you people have a lot of options for practice. In North and in our times, there were hardly good private setups. And if you want to do something good, you have, the tendency was there that you get into a medical college and do faculty job. That is how you will learn and that is how you will grow. So my husband got into Rajasthan UPSC. So I again followed him. And I was a pool officer working there. There I did all these laparoscopy camps and all. And when the job came for lecturer in Rajasthan, my husband says you should not apply because I don't think it is our future is in Rajasthan. Let us go back to Delhi. So I followed him, and then I got a UPSC confirmed job as assistant professor, but they posted me to Pondicherry. So again, it was some struggle. And then luckily there was a job, and I joined All India Institute of Medical Sciences as ad hoc. I joined as ad hoc, and then later I was confirmed. And then my journey is for academics at institute is a place which is really temple of learning. Even if you throw anybody there, because of the peer pressure, because of the people surrounding you, have to excel, you have to work hard. And it was 30 years journey at institute. And
Wow.
after that, I thought, then my husband joined Gurgaon. So there was a lot of distance. So I thought, now let me also leave. And that is how I'm in Paras Hospitals, Gurgaon, and very happily settled now.
Wow. This is, I mean,
I had no vision. It is the destiny which takes you to places. And there are some people who are very formative. One was Professor Kamal Bakshi. She was head of the department. She interviewed me. You know, these people were so honest to the core. They will select a person, whatever political, whatever pressure they have. She was one person, highly ethical, and what she thinks is right, she will do. She won't bother about the world. She selected me against all the odds, because I was, I had a thappa from a very small place and all. But then I'm really very, very grateful to her for that, for whole of my life. And I got into institute, and then I felt like I am in home, and then I started working hard.
Wow. Madam, take us through this entire little, I'll not say little, but I'll just say take us through this journey of AIIMS, because ever since we entered gynecology, we always remember you as professor in AIIMS, and we remember you as then the director of the department in AIIMS. And I had the opportunity to do 1 or 2 cases with one of your past students, Dr. Bhavna, who had come to my hospital, and I think we had spoken to each other at that time. And one thing which I realized is that even, like, let's say I only studied under you for, let's say, 10 days during my entire post-graduation. But then there are people... Sorry?
I'm fortunate. Having a student like you?
No, madam, please, no, you have so many great students. But all students across, who've seen you, who heard you, they always say one thing, that they would have been very lucky had they got the opportunity to train with you, or they would have been very lucky had they got the opportunity to become like you. Everybody wants to become like you. So these 30 years which you invested of your precious life and everything in AIIMS, I know this because I remember when I was a student in Focus, you used to come on Saturday, Sunday to Thrissur, that is on the other part of the country. Okay. And you used to take 4 sessions. I remember 4 sessions by Alka Kriplani madam on Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday night you will fly back, and Monday I think you will be back in AIIMS. Okay. So how long did this hard work continue? How did you manage everything? Like, why?
Actually, if you enjoy something, Najay, then you can do it. So when I started, I don't know whether you are aware, in the north and then the medical colleges, the system is you join as junior faculty and you have to wait for some good number of years for your turn to come. You are groomed that way. Nobody gives you a knife. Nobody gives you that freedom. And every system has its own advantages. This, I think, more advantages. So gradually you make your place. So when I invested initial part of time in OPDs, in learning to connect with patients, because there was not much operative work. And then I was from the very beginning very much interested in endoscopy. You will laugh when you know how we started endoscopy. It was so primitive. Things were not there. Equipment was not there. And there was so much of resistance from seniors around, because it was a new thing and nobody knew whether it will go on or it will be failure. So let me focus on this thing. So gradually I invested my time learning how to connect with patients. And then somehow I was very lucky. The day I got eligible, I was selected as professor with 5 increments. Somebody got very impressed with me in the interview. This is a big achievement. In my knowledge, it never happened. So every place I was very lucky. God was very kind, and I became professor at the very early age, and I became unit head. So I had lot more years of freedom, and I was head of the department for good number of years. So all this freedom I utilized building the department. And most important, Jay, if you ask me, somehow I got very close to residents. Still, today I will make a statement. These residents were my teachers, my mentors, my bachas, my sharing my, sorrow. As much as that, when I said I used to organize lot of conferences, so cultural programs, I started long back that we should do our own, why waste money. So one of the senior residents, I ordered, you have to dance with me, and the boy danced with me. So that kind of rapport I have with residents, whosoever is listening, it may be very difficult initially looking that working with me, but once they are with me and they realize that my life was, my growth was with my residents. They were, my teachers, I tell you. They were so sweet. If I tell them, you middle of the night, you run away to that place, that person will not ask me twice. He will do that. But everything is bilateral. I nurtured their breakups, their marriages, their personal life. So I enjoyed that thing, and they were best of the brains, best of the brains. And it is my common dialogue in rounds. If the IQ is taken, majority of you will be higher than mine. So please use your brain. And that was a pleasure. Residents are, they used to be in my house, eating, bed sitting. It was a big pleasure.
Wow, this is very similar to Sarina Madam's journey, madam, because I can connect it very much. Sarina Madam was like the mother of the entire department. Madam will call up and you have to run and go to madam. It's like that.
But Sarina is very mild. It's not so easy working with me and Tempus.
Oh, okay. No, madam, you don't know what happens when Sarina Madam gets angry.
See, we have to capture youngsters' brain. You have to put them on the ground, because there is some kind of arrogancy because they are very bright, they are all toppers. So first you have to bring down that, listen, this is another ball game. Start working hard in a different way, and then you can, capture their mind and train them.
Correct. Madam, you've been a teacher for a very long time. You've seen generation of students, correct? You've seen a generation where, let's say, laparotomy was predominant. Then you have seen a generation where, let's say, everybody who enters gynecology either wants to, become a fetal medicine specialist or a laparoscopic surgeon or an IVF specialist or whatever. And you have yourself, started with abdominal vaginal hysterectomies, done laparoscopic surgeries, and done training in robotics, got robotics into our country. And, you've seen the bad thing, good thing, and the initialization of everything. So I want to ask two questions. One, what do you think has changed between residency from then and now? Okay, because you've been an HOD, so you've studied academics very closely. And second, this is a common thing, so I'm asking as a newcomer gynecologist, who is just setting up into life, that do you, as such a expert laparoscopic surgeon, believe that robotic surgery is the future of gynecology, or it should be stressed upon? So you can answer both the questions in your way.
First question is, what is the difference I have seen in my lifetime? I have a career of nearly 40 years. So
Correct.
It's a long journey. I tell you, Jay, when I was a resident, there was no ultrasound, no endoscopy. So I don't know what we were busy with. And can you imagine what kind of practice you will do if you don't have? But we used to think we are doing very good work. And I always say in my lectures, I'm the best person to ask the route and type of hysterectomy, because when I was a resident, for years we used to do abdominal, except the prolapse where we were doing vaginal. Then came the era of non-descent, and we were very diligently doing non-descent hysterectomies. Then came LAVH. Then because of our laparoscopy skill, for years we were doing LAVH. And then came TLH. And so after doing all these hysterectomies, I can go on hours and hours with everything. But you see, the laparoscopy is a big benefit for the patient. And if equipment is available, like for other surgeries, then hardly any more cost is involved. So it is
Correct.
the future, it is going to stay. Then what happened, Jay, whenever I was lecturing, people used to get up and say, robot is very good. There was a time I used to go every year in an AAGL. For 9 years I did that. So every AAGL I saw, all the sessions are being replaced by robotic sessions. So I went and talked to people, and those who were doing robots and companies, they said, robot is the future, robo is the future. So I said, but I don't think the need of robo. Then people used to ridicule, because you don't do, so you are not knowing the, fineness of the robot. So what did I do? Our urologist has robot, and making friends, and they were very nice to me. I requested, sir, please let me also do work on your robo. So he was very nice, the head of the department, and he said, okay, once in a month I can spare robo for you. So after doing all tikram shikram, I got into robo. And now the thing is, you can't sit on robo unless you are robo certified. You went to Advencola and you got.
Yeah.
I've never trained anywhere in any skill. So there were times where there was not any training formal, but for robo they said that robot people said that if you are not trained and something happens to robot, then it will be an issue. The head of the department of Dogra was a very nice person and friend, and I just requested and charmed, and he said, okay, you do. And the first day, without any time seeing any robo, I went to videos and theory. And when I started, I posted 3 TLH. And when I started doing first TLH, the whole surgeon lot were standing there, those who were not getting robot, because only urology had robo, and everybody said that we want robot. And I got up after doing 2 TLH cases up to 2 p.m. And then I regularly did robot, and I told myself, maybe next time I will find, maybe next time I will find. I could never find any advantage of robo on conventional benign gynae surgery. Maybe our level of acquiring skill in laparoscopy had gone to that level that we did not require. I think those who want to convert from laparotomy to robotics, for them robo is good. Then we say robo is very advanced, very advanced. When I sat on robo, in one hand I had unipolar, one hand bipolar, no Larochore, no harmonic, nothing. So what is the advancement? And then docking time. But our robo was also not the latest and the best generation. So maybe robo improves, and maybe when Jay, you won't think. I can think you are very old, you cannot stand, but God has given you, your brain is intact. You may sit and do surgery on robo. This may be the robo was, introduced with the idea that in the army, thousands of miles away, the surgeon will sit and guide. That did not happen. But somehow I can make the statement that it is very commercial world, and somehow robo picked up. But and I can also see in AAGL now, all that hype of robo is not maintained that much. There are such good surgeons. See the youngster like Jay Mehta, when you operate, robot bhi sharma jayega.
Madam.
Yes. So I don't think we should in India, emphasize on students that you have to be trained. Maybe in oncology, urology, they have to work in very deep areas, and in prostatectomy, it is of importance. Oncology, yes, long surgeries and all. But for benign gynae surgery, and even I have so much of experience of oncology surgery, laparoscopic, I don't feel the need for robot presently. I don't know, the future robo may refine whatever. I don't feel the need.
Okay, madam, coming back to this thing on residents. Okay, what is your opinion on the quality of residents? Because you have seen quality of AIIMS, you've seen quality across the country, and you've seen quality when you've gone and done PG coaching. And I really like that 5% rule which you stated.
That is my fees rule.
Yeah. So can you just disclose that 5% rule to everyone? Because there are so many teachers. By the way, just to tell you, there are 212 people already watching you. So would like to know this 5% rule, because it was very interesting.
Actually, after teaching for years, I realized that there are 5% of the students who are on the top line, very brainy, very hardworking. They don't require your mentoring too much. Whatever you may do, they will excel, they will find their way, they will prepare themselves. So you don't take the credit of making their career. And the lowest 5%, whatever you may do, it is very difficult to pull them. But the middle big chunk, the fence sitters, on the 50th percentile, both sides, you can really change their thinking, their future. The mentoring helps them a lot in their bringing them online with proper training and hard work. So you should keep on working. And secondly, you said, what is the difference between AIM students? And I think given an opportunity, every student excels. But getting good opportunities, getting into structured training programs, it shortens your learning curve, and sometimes it gives you a very good insight, and you say that inspiration, and you find your path very fast. But I am from a very small place. I have seen people from such small places. If you have fire in you, if you are willing to work hard, if you are willing to take that, humiliation and not get affected by it, you can reach where you want to reach. It's the hard work. That heroine said, na, movies run on three things: entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. I tell them, success in medicine is hard work, and hard work.
Wow. Okay. One more thing. Maybe this question. So I'm going to apologize to the audience for asking a question like this, but I want to tell the audience that I have the deepest respect for women. Okay. But since it is Alka madam, I think I can ask this question to madam, and she'll answer without feeling bad about it. Madam, do you ever feel, okay, or have you ever felt, okay, in your such a long career, that there do exist gender inequalities and bias in gynecology? Because quite a lot of time male gynecs think that, अरे female gynec का ही practice ज़्यादा अच्छा चलेगा, male gynec का नहीं. And sometimes female gynecs think that male gynecs will only do well in endoscopic surgery and they will not. So I want to answer both these questions, because both these statements, according to me, are not true. And my experience is only 5 years. But you have 40 years experience.
No, but so gender bias is there. In every field it is there. The day you are born, your genitalia is exposed, the bias starts, the eyes, just in the eyes it starts. But somehow in gynae, we females are, that's only few places we are privileged, because patients want to. In North it is more. In your Mumbai, in Calcutta, in Odisha, the male gynecologists are dominating. In South, in North, it is region-wise, and a female feels more comfortable confining in female. So in gynecology, it is, little bit reverse, but all fields of life, gender bias, we are discriminated from birth till death in every aspect. You males may not realize that, but I tell you, these are anatomical differences, these are physiological differences. I tell, when the boys don't work on the round, you don't get periods, you don't become pregnant, even then you are not so sincerely working. What is wrong with you? So physiologically they are stronger, definitely. And it is the mindset of the society. I don't know how many generations it will take to change. You may think, according to you, gender bias is not there. According to me, it is daily, it is there. But I teach my girls, neglect something and be positive. Let it be there. Your hard work, your self-confidence should, compensate for it. And when it is your turn, don't do that. Don't do that. Here, I will really like to name my dear friend Naren Malhotra. Being a man, for decades, he is trying for, beti bachao, beti padhao. Then ab to hamare Foxy keh rahi hai, beta samjhao, beti. Because it is how you rear up your, male baby. That is going to make the difference in the society. And all those, you have a daughter, huh?
Yeah.
Otherwise, all mothers with male babies, they should be reared properly, and they should be told about equalities. Equality may not be there, we are different in both all aspects, but at least any society, the success and the how developed is the society is known by how the females are treated in that society. I can go on and on because this topic is very close, but when you talk of gynae, I myself must have done some gender bias. Okay, in endoscopy, there is difference. Again, the girls who are very bright, they are better than boys. Don't feel bad, I'm telling you. But majority of time in endoscopy, the boys, the difference during training, I found a girl, you tell her, cut Betty haircut, she will think 10 times before putting the scissor. And the boy, he cuts and looks at you. What will you do now? I have cut this thing. So they are little more rash, and if you want to be a good surgeon, you have to be a combination of little rash and little timid. Unless you are little rash, you cannot progress. Unless you are timid, you will cut few ureters and you will sit down. So you have to be a combination of aggression and submission, and the boys are more on aggressive side, girls are more on this, and boys have the advantage. Anytime in the night, even I have two equipment has failed, tell the boy, you go and bring the light source. Second day you will feel isko TLH kara दूं, बेचारा रात को गया था. These are little differences, but I think they can be compensated, and gender is there, difference is there, but all females, let it not come in your way of progress.
Very well said, madam. See, when we listen to things like this, no, madam, that's why we tell that Alka Kriplani madam is a role model. You know, like Alka Kriplani madam jaisa banna chahiye. So coming to that, by passing this statement, I want to ask you, who was the role model for Dr. Alka Kriplani? You took one name.
Very good. Very good.
You took one name, but I want the other names also.
No, there are so many people. You know, when you get something in life, it is not your achievement. It is a collective effort which leads you somewhere. You also see around you people, they must be, giving oxygen to you day in and day out. Then only you can flourish.
Yeah.
So initially, as I said, I was a very, very ordinary person. Still I am. But at that time, I didn't know what is the world like. So only thing, parents, unconditional love, love of father to the daughter, it makes her very, very confident. I'm telling you because you have a daughter. So if a father loves her daughter unconditionally, so that is the biggest security she gets in life. So I was very fortunate. Parents were not rich, but they gave us values, and mother was always there. So, that is, I think, is missing in my parenting, because of your, you are busy in profession. As you think the time should have been given, you always feel you could not give that much time to the children. But when we are talking of role models, so initially I didn't have any role model. I don't know how something stuck to my brain that I must come in merit list. My name should be in newspaper. So like a donkey, I worked hard. And I could not achieve that. That is another thing, no problem.
But you continue to work hard despite that, which is something which is
taught
amazing.
Me to work hard, and that, once you are in habit of working hard, then naturally things are different. Then late in life, once I was reading an interview, you will laugh at me, that there was a scene going on in some movie, and Anupam Kher was narrating it, that it was so much of, sultry heat, and he was in makeup. So he was all the time, there was no AC, no fan. So he was cribbing and telling everybody around that what is this? They are not starting the shoot, and I am feeling miserable. And he saw in a corner Amitabh Bachchan was sitting. So he could not stop himself. He went to him. Sir, you are not finding it very hot, and it is such a bad, this thing. It's such a, humid day. And he just looked up at him, and he said, and he was all in makeup, that pagdi and all, and he was perspiring. And he just looked at him, and he replied, I am on duty. From that day on, it came deep into my mind that duty is duty. And if you are thinking on duty, this is happening, that is happening, 10 things will happen. But if you are thinking it is my duty, such a big man sitting quietly for his turn for the shot. So that day I thought, OPD may we make so much of fuss, the light is not there, pankha is not there, all this person. From that day on, I stopped cribbing. And whenever he cribbed, I remembered that such big people, they take their duty so seriously. And I'm just a small fry. Why can't I? So these are small,
Madam,
small.
I'll correct you. I disagree to that statement that you are a small fry, because you and your husband both have been awarded the BC Roy awards in medicine, and you are the only couple to be awarded that. So I can be a small fry. We people watching can be small fries, but you can't say like this. This is cheating, madam.
So you learn so much from some small incidences. They leave such a big impression on you.
Yeah.
And these are your role models. But when I joined AIMS, as I said, I was taken. I was nobody from a small place. Just because somebody thought, Professor Bakshi thought that this girl may, do good in future. So against all odds, I was selected. So I really respect such people, and we should at least try to follow their footsteps. And
Agreed.
in Delhi, I don't know in your Mumbai, I'm sorry, we are physically quite apart and the thinking is different. I have seen honest to the core, so ethical people. I don't want to name a few, others may feel bad. All majority of these HODs, our faculty, they were like, student will pass if students deserve to pass, student will fail if student deserves to fail. Absolutely no discrimination. And I salute those people.
No, I mean, that is, I think there are certain cultural or probably regional differences, as you said, in our country. And I think thanks to these common exams, all these differences would probably go away, because students, from one part of the country would be to the other part of the country. I want to ask you this question very specifically, because every time we listen to we have this feeling. See, even people are writing on the Facebook. When you check after this, you will see a lot of people have written. By the way, just to inform you, there are 412 people watching you now. Okay.
Thank you.
So
must be my old students. They love me.
Everyone loves you, madam. Why just your old students? and I think everyone loves you because you are very humble. Because of this. See, I'll to all the people. Sorry, I know I should not be taking screen time, but I'll just take 1 minute of time, and I'll tell you that when I was approaching madam for this Facebook live session, for a lady at her level of achievement, for a lady at her level of work, and with the amount of work she has to do in a day, she can easily tell me that रात को 10 बजे के बाद phone करना, तब तक don't disturb me. Okay. And madam has replied to every WhatsApp of mine. Madam has replied to every WhatsApp call of mine. Madam has called back if she has missed her call. She's just incredibly humble. I want to ask this question, madam. How do you manage to keep yourself so humble despite achieving so much?
Shall I give an honest answer?
It's a very rare thing, madam, but I want an honest answer. It's a very rare thing to see somebody so humble,
I was not. But what happened during my journey of life? I got everything good. Just so many people work so hard. They are so good. But you have to be at the correct place at correct time. You think you have done a lot. Without God's kindness, you don't reach anywhere. Your stars have to, your destiny has to help. So why so many people work so hard, they don't get that recognition? If I'm getting there, it's the kindness somewhere for me. So I have to remember that it is not Alka Kriplani, it is kindness of God he is bestowing. So I should be, humble, because I don't know the reason why God is so kind to me. So at least I should do good things so that kindness is maintained. And believe me, more successful you are, these stars, they big, overnight they become big stars. They don't know what is the reason. They become so superstitious. So at least you should become humble, because on the cost of many people you are getting recognition. So you should give that at least something back. And you must be grounded, because you really don't know why you God has chosen you, why you are getting so much. Over the years I realized that that God is very kind, so should be humble.
Yeah, so well said, madam. I want to ask you one more question on the same lines. Okay, I do not think there is any award which is remaining in the for a civilian which you have not got. Okay, you've got everything. You've got the Padma Shri, everything. I mean, I'm not going to name them because it is going to take me another 40 minutes to just describe the number of awards which you've got. And very frank question. Okay, what do these awards mean to you, madam? How do you look at these awards?
You see, you feel happy. I will be lying if I tell you that. And it gives you a motivation to work harder and be more humble. But I am very proud of two awards in my life, Jay. One award is, for years I have stopped, applying myself for, and I used to tell my students to present, rather push them, rather, be after them, present your thesis, present your work. So my postgraduates, my residents, my research staff, they got 70 awards in conferences. So I think it is a big achievement that my students beg so many awards. My awards are, they don't mean that much, as I used to feel very happy that my students are doing so well. And one award, when I was leaving a year back, it was the first time we got CNBC Excellence Award for the Department of Obs and Gynae from All India Institute of Medical Sciences. No other department in All India Institute that year got that award. No department in any government institution got. It was all private, good hospitals, corporates, and the government institution gynae department of Obs and Gynae. So I felt very proud of that award.
Wow, that is such a. I mean, you feel so happy, that that I'm speaking to someone who broke that, thing. That okay, somebody from this department and in AIIMS got this award. I think it is something which is very commendable, and I'm sure all people who are watching us.
And I tell you the biggest secret. No one person can make a department. Somehow God has given me one thing, I can connect with people. So taking everybody along, if you want to achieve big, you have to take people by your side. And somehow I was very lucky. Everybody got connected. Whatever tantrum I throw, whatever I say, they were, doing without any doubt. So maybe I have taken wrong decisions, but everybody stood by me. And that is how I could build a very good department. We started so many fellowships. We started so many teaching training programs. We did so many conferences. We did our own cultural programs. When I told that, listen, boys and girls, we have to do our own cultural, nobody was coming forward. Everybody was going out of room, whom she will catch. Then I said, okay, I don't know any dancing. I will dance. Who will dance with me? Everybody ran away. Then my contemporary, Dr. Sunesh, who is an excellent surgeon, excellent human, I said, Sunesh, mere saath dance kar lo. Sunesh said, no, I can't do this. Anything I can do for you, but I can't dance. Then I thought, whom? Then there was a senior resident, who was, I was very fond of him. I ordered him, you have to dance with me. And he just looked at me so terrified. Then he said, okay. And that is how you connect with people, you take them along, and only collectively you can achieve a significant thing. Alone you cannot. Alone you can be, but it will be very, very insignificant and meaningless.
Madam, you are doing this, now you are in a private institute, and earlier you were in a government institute. So of course you had all the powers out there, and you have all the powers out here also, because you are running the department even in Paras Hospital. What is the difference that you think, as a senior practitioner, there exists between private practice and institutional practice? I'll put it this way: institutional government practice and institutional private practice.
Very good question, and a very difficult question to answer, but I will just talk dil se. For me, there is not much difference, because I came and so many people followed. They came, they want to work with me. Now I have a good department here. But there are differences, especially in institute. We never bothered what is the commercial aspect, because everything was free. In government institution, a good thing is you are groomed properly, but it takes you a lot of time to be independent. Agar Jay, if you think you would have started with a government institution, you would have reached there in 15 years where you are today. It takes time. The system is such. Everybody is waiting for their turn, and there is lot of, you see, administrative kind of work. So
Correct.
you cannot, do pure academics if you want to, or pure clinical work. But then there are many advantages. There is security, there is risk coverage, and so much. And in practice, you are your lord. You can do anything. But if you falter, you are the only one who is responsible. So there the
Correct.
system is backing you. Here you have so many advantages of freedom. So the freedom comes with lot of responsibility. So in our times, these good corporate setups were not there. If you want to have a name, if you want to learn good things, you have to join a department and then wait for your turn, gradually learn. And then when your time comes, now everybody is in a hurry. Everybody is in a hurry to, pass those yardsticks and learning curve. I don't say it is bad. Times are changing. We have to look from the perspective of youngsters, because so many years they waste in All India Institute. It was 3 years when they were waiting to get PG. 3 years of preparation and munging up those rotten MCQs, which I think is a totally rotten system. So you people have different thinking, but work is the same, ethics is the same, and there are logistical some differences, and of course remuneration is different. So there
Madam,
are
you
advantages and there are disadvantages both.
correct. Madam, you mentioned something about the system, and you've been in the system for very long and you have touched every level in the system. Let's assume, I wish there comes a day like this, okay? But so let's assume Mr. Modi ji calls you up and tells you that Alka Kriplani, madam, from tomorrow, I am giving you D veto powers. Go change whatever you want to change in the system of gynecology in the country. I want to listen to top five things which you want to change.
Yes, this is a very good question. I really wish and pray somebody listens. For teaching and training, it is very, very faulty. But we just blame. Now your question is very pertinent, how to improve it. See, we do not have any system and there is no uniformity in standards in our country. That's why when we go out, a All India Institute student and a student from a very remote, they are on a same, so that is the reason they take exams again and again. So we have to have some uniformity in our teaching and training. At least it is one country. And secondly, apart from uniformity, we have to empower our medical schools. There is nothing there. There is no endoscopy, there is no IVF. We give MD degree. What a poor student has to do after that? Without endoscopy, without IVF, where will you practice nowadays? So after their MD, the poor student gave with a degree, he goes here and there, fellowship, this, that. Why it should happen when there is? Secondly, in our country, systems are not in place. System means, like in the West, we are in many ways better, but there a student is not like left alone. You have to give them certain amount of teaching skills. There are systems in place, how the exam will be done, what will be the semester, what the follow the guidelines. They are good. Here everybody is on their own, make your own system, which loses lot of your time in making a system. So if systems are in place, why we are working like donkey? I always say, residents, if these residents are not there, hospital will collapse, because half of the time resident is doing the job of ayabai, sweeper. They are going to get blood. I don't know where you work, it may not be there in all government institutions. Ayabai may not be there. They are dragging the trolleys, they are going for the blood. On the top, some people are telling you, show me my relative, and this, you go and bring this report yourself. I used to feel very bad that half of the time poor students, they are doing all these vegetative things. And so we have to have defined jobs in our country, proper systems, follow guidelines. See, initially you must follow guidelines. Later, when your level comes, you try and break guidelines. Here, everybody is breaking guidelines and nobody is knowing what are guidelines. That is also the reason. And one thing I think, the duty hours also should be regulated, and we should also get, doctors should get weekends in India. How we are working, how hard we are working, it's not bad. I tease that everybody should work hard, but what it goes, whole of my these years, my other faculties used to say every Saturday, Sunday, every Sunday early morning I'm taking a flight, lecturing somewhere. Monday in the OT I'm reporting 8:30. I'm not suffering, I'm enjoying. It is my family time. When your daughter grows, you will realize it is our family time which we are sacrificing. It is not a good thing. Balance your life.
I'll just add something. I come from a absolute non-medical family. Okay, so there is if I go home and tell my wife or my dad that today I did laparoscopic para-aortic lymphadenectomy, so their answer is going to be okay, no problem.
Oh, so
because,
sad.
because they don't know anything about it. But I think our family has done one thing good, and we have a rule that I work for 5 days a week, and I started working 5 days a week, I think since the last 2.5 years, and it was my father and my mother who forced me to do that, because they were like, in every other society or in every other population, people work 5 days a week and they do well, and how on earth you want to work 6 days a week and still expect yourself to do well? You will not do well. So you should start working 5 days a week. And I think I took that advice very seriously, because I don't, despite the lockdown, I have not listened to a single session or a webinar if it is on a Sunday.
Can I comment? Can I comment?
Yeah, please.
It is because Jay Mehta. Please, people, don't go with the idea that Jay is doing 5 days a week, so it is a good thing. You haven't seen the amount of hard work Jay Mehta has put in these 5 years to be able to work 5 days a week. You are a workaholic. What you have achieved, mashallah, you are very young. You will go very, very far. Where at the fag end of our career as a surgeon, majority of us are, you are starting from there, Jay. But please be grounded. Your effort is there, but God is very kind to you. He has given you such a unique thing, gifted surgeon.
Thank you, madam, for that. Coming to what we were talking, let's assume the system stays as it is, and people call you up. Let's say on in Focus. So let's go back to Thrissur for a while. So let's say in
Focus, I used to love going to Thrissur. It was very hard on me. 5 hours one way, 5 hours. I never used to stay. I just used to finish my evening, morning, and rush for the flight. But there were such lovely students. You go in the hall and see so many people in their eyes. They are wanting, you to dissect them. And I used to love that. I loved, taking your class, and I loved your case presentation. I still remember each and everything. One day I asked a very thin boy from Mumbai. I said, "Beta, from where you are?" "Madam, I have joined as DNB here." I said, "Is it okay, this place? How you find it?" "Madam, it's very good for studies, but there are two big issues. One is the language, and second is the food. Madam, I have lost so much of weight that..." He was so skinny bag of bones.
Yeah.
So everything you get in life, you have to pay the price of it. I think
Agreed.
It's a very good institution where you are working. And Sarina, the kind of programs she was doing, 9 years continuously, I went there. I used to derive some pleasure there, because you see 500, 600 students, and they all are so eager to learn. So it was a pleasure. How you people took it, I don't know.
No, it was good. It was good. Only those sessions where you used to quiz people in the case presentation, the people presenting used to get scared, but other people used to enjoy it, I think. So madam, let's say a bunch of students come to you. They've passed their DNB exam or their MD exam or whatever, and they ask you, "Madam, what should we do in order to have a successful practice?" What will you answer them, madam?
I answer them, continue with your training. Once you have passed your MD degree, it is just a degree. and now your learning starts. Now being, a true clinician, that journey starts. So it is a good idea to get trained in a place where good amount of workload is there, because Jay, as I said, my 5% formula, you are excluded. Majority of people, they need mentoring, they have to assist, they have to see surgeries for some good amount of time, then they should be doing surgeries. And that is the way to learn surgery. It is a long learning curve, barring a very few exceptions like you who pick up. I don't know how you picked up.
No, actually, madam, it was very tough for, I mean, if I may answer, it was very tough for me because I had
Even
a
if
book.
it is tough, it is not easy to pick up. So you should be very thankful to God.
Oh, yes,
And
I
of
think.
course, hard work.
No, I think two people, Ashwath sir, Sarina madam, these two people are God for me. So if whatever I am, it's because of these two people.
But I don't think your training finishes at MD. Here we have a system of 3 years senior residency. There is an obvious difference in decision making. See, you can be a very good cutter, you can be a very good surgeon, but I tell my students you should be a good clinician. You should know when to operate, when not to operate, and to connect with your patient and to learn how to, how to tackle your patient. To my mind, these are very, very important things for a good, successful clinician.
For everyone, probably in every field, isn't it? Madam, one more question. Like we've been speaking for a very long time, but I'm going to ask you two questions which are more now on the personal side of it. Okay. Not this was all profession and your career and everything. So now two questions slightly personal. Okay. So, madam, your husband is a very, very well known surgeon. Okay. And he is very famous for lot of things in general surgery, bariatric surgery and single incision surgeries and so many things. And I know that you both have been classmates and it's been a very strong love marriage. So the question which I want to ask is, despite having such a busy schedule for both of you have been incredibly busy. How is it that you keep such a happy marriage going along?
Firstly, I must tell you, I didn't have vision in early years of my life. And dear husband had really very good vision. So, see, we met, we were class fellows, and I was just 17 years. He was also 17 and a half or so. And see, quick decision making. And I always tell him, I always tell him that my decision making is better, and he cannot counter that because he is the my decision making.
Correct.
Anyway, so after we passed our MD, then only we got married. And it was his vision that he wanted to excel in life and he never compromised. His in 70s thesis was laparoscopy, where nobody knew how to put a scope in the abdomen and there was no idea of how to create pneumoperitoneum. What we used to do, and in camps, we used to that BP cuff, we used to inflate with the room air, and that is how. And he was my role model and my teacher in laparoscopy because he is the first one in North India, he's the first one in splenectomy, adrenalectomy, he's a very pioneer of single port surgery. So he's a gifted surgeon. And I imbibed a lot of my laparoscopy skills. And he used to, really tell me he's actually, I don't want to praise boys, I'm no less, but my husband is more of a friend, a mentor, a guide, everything. We are true friends. So our family says 1 and 1 are 11. So we are always like discussing medicine, like discussing surgery. And he has taught me many, many laparoscopy skills by remote also. We both were in institute, so he used to come in our theater. In those times, we were not having equipment, Jay. Now you easily buy things. It was very difficult to get into trocas, very difficult to get into the audio systems. You are seeing directly through the eye. Initial TCREs for months in the thesis and these surgeries. I didn't have camera, so I used to do it directly with the eye. It was so tiring. He used to give me from his own, because in very early days he became very famous. So he was organizing and conducting workshops for Hawama companies, for these equipment people. So he used to get equipment very easily. They used to give all demo things and he used to pass it on to me. So bag, borrow, steal, that is how I developed. And later, he was inspired by one thing. His then head of the department, Professor Sharma, once called him and said, "Your wife is a gynecologist?" He said, "Yes, sir." He was a very good teacher, like father. He said, "Beta, you decide. Both of you cannot have very active career. She is also faculty here. One person should take back seat and one person should excel in the field." Whoa, he took that thing so seriously that me and Alka both will excel in career, and he always kept my career before his. I'm very thankful to him for that till today. So he is a blessing because he took care of my career, everything, and that is the reason. And he supported me. He may not know cooking, but he was always there. Okay, I'll do. He may not do. The day may not come, but he is there. If somebody is with you all the time in your, one person is there in your thick and thin. If you are caught in an inquiry, if your patient has died, he is there giving you proper advice. It is a blessing. It is a blessing. So I'm lucky. That is why I said we should be very thankful to God. God is so kind. Maybe good karmas. So we should do more good karmas so that such life is given to us.
And before we conclude, there is one more personal question. You've been a mother of 2 daughters. What is it? You've had a fantastically busy career. Okay, so in order to become a good parent, what would be your advice to all people like me who are young parents? Who have kids 2 years, 3 years old, and what would be your advice to people like us on parenting?
Let me honestly confess that there was a lot as a mother I could not do. Most important was the time required by children was, less. But God is very kind. My children are very understanding. It is now. It was not when they are adolescent. And I think parenting is a very, very difficult area and is a very big responsibility, Jay. So parenting is a very difficult, more difficult than your parotid dissection, I must tell you. And I asked Jay what happened to your hair. He said my daughter pulls them too much, so I have clean shaven. Wow, what parenting now you people start. I believe in inculcating some discipline in their growing years, and with my residents also I'm the same, because some amount of discipline, they may think today that you are bad, later they realize it was for their good. But you have to give quality time to your children, and with busy career, it is something which one should never feel guilty about, because what we are giving them, maybe many parents are not able to give them. So give them quality time, and in their early years, please be very, very, connected with them. You may be connected with love, you may be connected with authority, but if you are connected, your child will be your child. And ultimately, you see, I have seen in life, children become like parents ultimately. What values, they go so deep in them. Both are doctors, both are doing so well. And I'm very lucky to have such lovely, doting, loving daughters. God is very kind to me.
That's very sweet of you, madam, to share something so nice, and so honestly, as far as parenting is concerned. Before we finish off, I just want to say it's been incredible to listen to you for so long, and we've always been very lucky whenever we get a chance to listen to you. I think all the members of the group will also consider themselves to be very lucky that they get to listen to something which is so unique, and we could have easily spoken on TLH, but we did not. We kept it different. And
Jay, you said dil se, so it is dil se.
Bilkul, it has to be dil se. And thank you, madam, for being so genuine, for opening up so nicely. I think I've been very lucky that I've always got to interview people who are so open and so frank, and it makes this entire chat sort of an initiative so lovable. People look forward to it. And I would just like to say, people who are listening to the session today, please log in at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, because just like how we have Alka madam today, tomorrow morning we are going to be having Dr. Sandesh Kade, who is such a promising laparoscopic surgeon in our country, and we are going to have some jolly time with him. It's going to be slightly more academic with Sandesh Kade as against this. But Alka madam, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for giving me this time.
Let me put a statement for record's sake that you are a wonderful host, and I don't know how you acquire all these skills, and your surgical skills, they are highly impressive. God bless you. At this age you are here, you will go very far. Please remain grounded, and please keep doing such great work, and please keep teaching. And you don't think that if you are doing good work, everybody knows around that whosoever who is what is what, everybody knows. So never think this now you have the advantage of the social media, this Facebook, seeing surgeries. It's a big blessing for teaching and training and learning. And Jay, I wish you all the best in life. माशाअल्लाह, at this age you are here. पता नहीं आगे आप कहाँ तक जाओ, हमारी दुआएं आपके साथ हैं.
नहीं, thank you so much, madam. And I call this